It's the most famous peacetime maritime disaster in history and the subject of the first movie to ever make $1 billion at the box office. This weekend is the 100th anniversary of the sinking of the Titanic, a story that involves meteorology, oceanography, and if you believe some recent research, even astronomy. The 883-foot-long Titanic, one of the largest and most luxurious ocean liners ever built, departed from Southampton, England on April 10, 1912. Stopped in France and Ireland to pick up additional passengers, then set out across the North Atlantic Ocean, bound for New York City. By all accounts, light winds and mild temperatures dominated the first 3 days. Then, after crossing a cold front, the ship emerged southeast of Newfoundland into a clear, calm, and cold air mass in a part of the North Atlantic known for icebergs. As winter breaks in the Arctic, the Labrador Current commonly transports the bergs south into the shipping lanes, often ones that originate from the glaciers of Greenland. Titanic Captain Edward Smith would have known that icebergs had been seen as far south as 39 degrees north latitude in that part of the Atlantic in April, and we now know that dozens of small and medium-sized ships were lost or seriously damaged by collisions with icebergs in that area of the Grand Banks in the decades prior to the Titanic disaster. But what nobody knew was that the iceberg danger there in April 1912 was unusually high, due in part to a stronger than normal Labrador current and a mild winter that allowed plenty of icebergs to calve from Greenland. Plus, 3 months earlier, the moon had made its closest approach to the Earth in more than 1,000 years at the same time the Earth made its closest annual approach to the sun. This caused exceptionally high tides that may have made it easier for icebergs to reach the shipping lanes. And on April 14, 1912, Titanic received 6 wireless messages from other ships warning of large icebergs ahead. Still, the ship continued full steam, following standard practice at the time of sticking rigidly to schedule with the belief that ice posed little danger to vessels that large. That night was moonless, and calm seas also made it harder for the 2 lookouts in the crow's nest of the Titanic, because icebergs often were detected by the outline of waves breaking at their base. The one that struck the Titanic wasn't spotted until it was within 500 yards of the ship, too late to avoid a collision. The massive ship sank in just 2.5 hours into 30-degree waters. The next morning, rescue ships in the area snapped pictures of the iceberg thought to have struck the Titanic. One important legacy of the Titanic disaster was the establishment of an international ice patrol to monitor icebergs in the North Atlantic shipping lanes. Today it's operated by the U.S. Coast Guard and funded by 13 nations that have an interest in transatlantic navigation. On September 1, 1985, a joint U.S.-French expedition located the wreck of the Titanic at a depth of more than 12,000 feet. The ship was explored by manned and unmanned submersibles, which shed new light on the details of its sinking. Paul Knight is back next with our extended forecast.